Whew, I'm 5 minutes late. I'm sorry, I just had the tech scare of the week, I'd say. My streaming computer is a desktop computer, 5960X, 1070 Ti, and I walked into this studio and I noticed, like, why is this computer so loud? It shouldn't be that noisy. The front fan was spinning at full speed, and I noticed that the CPU fan was just completely standing still. So I unplugged it, plugged it into another fan header, just thinking that you know, the fan output didn't do anything. And it sparked, and the computer just went black. Just full hard shutdown. Thankfully though, I was able to start it back up, and I was able to start OBS Studio on the first try. Usually it takes me like 20 tries to start that up. So everything's okay, and today we're gonna keep on building the MPCNC. Yesterday we built the Z-axis. That's this part right here. Yeah, right way up. Late notification, come on, you're right here. And yeah, yesterday we built the Z-axis. Today we are going to build the center, what's it called? Center assembly, middle assembly. Basically these parts, like 20 different bearings, and basically what's going to attach the Z-axis to these two rods. So the thing that ties it all together, yesterday we didn't have the these rails on yet, and I just put them on. I thought, like, hey, you know, this could move right now. I mean, it's not synchronized from side to side yet, but this feels good. This is nice and smooth. Now, the one thing that I did notice is that these carriages, I'm not sure where you're actually going to be able to see it, but as I slide them left to right, this one kind of rotates like this. So it's kind of twisting around the tube. So I'm not sure if that's actually going to create rub spots if we actually constrain it to that perfectly horizontal orientation or not. We'll see. We'll see. So yes, today's stream has breaks on my side. So today is the second day that we're trying the super ultra low latency setting on YouTube. I just checked it. We have 2 seconds delay from when I see, or when I say something and you guys hear it. So chat's probably gonna be super duper real time. That's fun. That's real fun. I really enjoyed that yesterday as well. Let me just see if screen cap is the right screen. No, it is not. Too many screens connected to this computer. There we go. That's what I wanted to show. So that is the part that we're going to be building today. We will need to square it. I might need to pick up a square at some point. Right. Cool. There's a question from chat, from Jake. Buying bolts, can I buy the longest length of bolt and just cut them down to the size I need? That's going to be a lot of work because bolts are, or screws are, a really high grade steel, and you can't really cut them with a chop saw. You're probably going to have to angle grind them, and that's a lot of work. Just spend the $5 and buy the proper size instead. It's probably a lot easier, and you don't need to get rid of the burr. 1.7 seconds delay. Wow. Okay. Nice. So let's actually get started on this one. I might need to take the this entire frame off because I think I'm going to need some space. So let me just see if I can lift this off without dropping the entire thing. Yes, you can actually see how large this frame is. It probably doesn't come across on camera all that well, but it's, or at least on the other perspectives, but it's quite massive. It's quite big. So something smells burnt. If it doesn't get any worse, then that's okay, but oh, that's it's says tubes, it still has like the smell of the angle grinder in it. So what DIN version screws did I use? 912 for everything, but I did grab the pan head. I'm not sure which type that is. I did grab, oh yeah, and I did tighten up the autofocus on this camera. So now we get like faster focus, maybe not on the right thing, but yeah. So I grabbed a handful of these because I needed those for the legs, but everything else is DIN 912, the standard socket head or cap head screw. All right, using the XYZ parts, so we're actually starting with these. 4 M8 by 30 bolts, lock nuts, and 608 bearing assemblies as shown. Okay, that looks easy enough. So it's just bolt, bearing, and the nut on the back. All right, so I have 2 of these. Yeah, we also need to assemble 2 of these, and these are identical, I believe. Right, so just right in here. 5 motors. I did change it on the website because I don't know how I thought it was just 3 motors, but I guess it must have been like, okay, we got 3 axes, we didn't have an extruder, so it's just going to be, 3 motors, right? X, Y, Z, easy enough. But that's not quite how it works. So yeah, 5 motors. I'm going to have to grab 2 more. But yeah. Why am I not hearing that? Why am I not hearing the notification? Thank you, Thierry. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Planning to build an MPCNC myself for a really long time. Yes. So again, these are not official like build guide videos. I'm just trying my best to kind of build this while I hang out with you guys. But if you want to follow along and kind of learn from some of my mistakes, then yeah, you're very welcome to do that. So what I'm seeing right here is we've got the same sort of nut trap that I've had some issues with on the other parts. So okay, this looks like it might work, but on the other parts this was just way too loose, at least with the M4 nuts, that the nut would just rotate constantly. We'll see. And you can't put a socket over this. I would much rather just have a socket instead of this half nut trap. But let's just give it a go. I mean, okay, feels like it works. Of course, now my driver's getting stuck. Okay, so the autofocus might actually be a bit too aggressive on this one. I'll change it around it between streams and just see what works exactly. Let's try the longer one. Someone just asked what info I used, but deleted the message. So as always, more shells is the better option for printing parts, or at least for printing structural parts like this. I believe it's somewhere around, I don't know, 40% infill, 4 shells, 2 or 3, or so, total of 2 or 3 millimeters wall thickness. So not like super overkill, but again, use more shells. That's probably the best advice I can give you. Print it as a solid block, yeah. Who's asking that? Aloha Milton asking, can we do a little bit better on the likes today? Actually, I'm surprised. Yesterday's stream got like 98% likes, which is unheard of for a live stream. So thank you all for that. Oh, this is gonna be fun. So this one doesn't have the space for a nut trap on the back. So I will probably need a spanner, because right here where it screws through, 1.25% speed. Right. How do I hold on to this? I'll grab a set of spanners because I don't think, yeah, no, the wrench is not going to fit in there for sure. Let me see. Spanners and the Mason square, because we will need to square up some other parts in a second. So let's just see if this goes. Yeah, spanner is a German word, but it depends on how you pronounce it. Okay, that is still quite tight, but you can actually get into it from one specific angle. Okay, that's all right. That's gonna work. MPCNC or lowrider, what's better? It's different styles of machines. So the MPCNC line of machines is, or it has two, maybe three, I don't know, but two like popular versions right now. So the one is the MPCNC itself that we're building right now. Actually, I can set a focus point on this so it doesn't dance around all over. So the MPCNC that we're building right now, that's the frame version, like the classic one. But there's also the lowrider, which actually has no frame. It's just a full-on gantry that slides along your entire workpiece. So you have a full sheet of plywood or something, and you just put it on and it skates along and does its job that way. So that requires you to use full sheets of plywood, which is obviously a bit more space consuming even than having a frame like this. And also doesn't really work for, I think it doesn't work as well for like using a vise and milling like smaller parts. So it really depends on what you're using it for. I'm doing this one because I'm fine with the 50 centimeter build volume, but obviously the lowrider is also a pretty popular option right now. And thank you for the $2, Josh Lunsford. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Or stream series, actually. By the way, if I sound particularly cheerful and happy, I just had a coffee because I was feeling like super tired a second ago. It is 7:17 p.m. here. I'm probably not going to sleep until like 3 a.m., but that's a risk I'm willing to take. There you go. Overlay chat, please. So I used to have chat overlay just this take up this entire side, where is it? This entire side of the stream. But thankfully, YouTube does offer options now to have a chat replay when you're watching the recording. And if you're watching full screen, I think there's also, okay, so this one's kind of, this one's loose. All right. I think there's also options to have the chat somewhere visible. So yeah, this way. There we go. Okay, that kind of worked. Yeah, these half nut traps really not a great idea, I think. Either have no nut trap there at all, or have one that fully encloses it. There's also the option of having like the square nuts that Prusa is using. Those are actually fairly common. Actually, let me show you. I do have them here. Those are called 9562. Oh yeah, DIN 562. So these little square nutties. Those are actually specifically made to be slid into a part, I believe. So those can also work with 3D printed parts really well. No washers on those bearings? No. I did show that off on yesterday's stream, but if you look at the if you look at the geometry of these parts, first of all, the screw head is small enough to only fit on the inner race, or only sit on the inner race, and then wherever a bearing touches a plastic part, it actually has the shoulder printed right into the part so that the bearing doesn't rub. So these are all free running without any extra washer or shoulder or help in any other way. How many printers did I use to pump out the parts? 3 or 4, but I was printing for quite a while. I didn't go, like you can see, these parts are decent quality. These are all 0.15 well, most of them, 0.15 millimeter layer height. So it didn't cheap out on quality, but you know, since I have a few printers that I could use, yeah, I used some of them to print some parts in parallel, and you know, I didn't have those many rows of, or that many rows of filament that were the exact same color, so I just, you know, mix them up. All right. If I'm looking slightly off camera, that's where my chat monitor is. So I'm, you know, I've got that scrolling by in real time. Okay. Can you show how you wedge that flathead on the end screw? Yes, I can show that again. So we have these half traps for the nuts, and then basically you just jam a screwdriver in like that. And as the nut wants to rotate this way, it actually sucks the screwdriver in further and keeps it, or blocks it, jams it up. So that's what you can do if these just start spinning freely, which they shouldn't. So these bolts can get snugged up. It's good that I'm, if I'm reading the instructions after I'm already done, assembled the part. Pre-thread the nylux to loosen them up. Right, or use, actually that's probably a good option for some of these nuts that may be too tight, to tighten without, well, to tighten in the way that they are captured, is just using regular nuts, so non-nylux, and going with a bit of liquid thread lock, because that requires zero force to install. Also, it's fairly quick to do, and yeah, you probably don't have to do like the entire jam the screwdriver in thing, just if you're having trouble with this. What was the total print time of all the printed parts? Probably a good 100 hours. So a good week of printing if you just have one machine. It's a lot of plastic. It's 1.5 kilograms, and you can usually do the math how long your printer takes to print like 100 grams or so, and then just multiply that up. XY parts, 4 M8 by 30 nuts and bearings, as shown with the heads out. So heads go, yeah, obviously, I mean, don't think I'd be able to assemble it any other way, but it is the other way around where the nut actually sits against the bearing. Cool. Also, quick tip for estimating print times is what I usually like to do in like Prusa Slicer, formerly Slick3R, rest in peace, is to create like a custom printer that is 1 meter by 1 meter, so 1,000 millimeters by 1,000 millimeters long, and just throw all the parts on there, let it slice, it's going to take a while, and then have it show me the total print time estimate, because that's how long it's going to at least take. Like if you don't take into account like part cooling times, etc., that is the minimum print time that we're going to have for all these parts. So that's just a quick hack if you want to estimate like print time for all the parts for a project. All right, hello neighbor in the Netherlands. I live in Bavaria, in southern Germany. Probably the opposite corner from the Netherlands, but nonetheless, country neighbors. By the way, if there are any Americans watching, Europe is small. Like I drove from E3D in the UK all the way through the Netherlands, Belgium, France, Germany, all the way down to south of Germany in one day. Like, yeah, it's small. This thing runs Marlin. This thing doesn't run anything in particular. Like you can run whatever you want. You can have it run Rep Firmware, which runs on the Dude, which I'm going to do, or at least try to do. But you can also run it off of a CNC shield, which runs, God, someone help me out here. What's it called? Gerbil, right? Yes. Gerbil runs on the CNC shield. You can run it on a standard rep board, which runs Marlin 2.0. You can run it with a smoothie board. Really, you're not bound to any one specific software solution. For slicing, or for cam, yes, I'm going to be using ESTL cam, which is a really simple but also kind of limiting 2.5D CAD or cam package. It does also do rudimentary 3D, so based off of an STL slicing, but that's not particularly great. But for like getting started and milling out some simple parts, ESTLCAM or ESTLCAM is kind of good. I think I did look at like Mach 3 and Linux CNC and all those, you know, more tightly tethered solutions, but I don't know. It seems rather archaic to me to use. Well, I don't know. At least the Mach software. And yes, Jeffrey, you are 100% correct. For 3D or even for 2.5D, like Fusion is the high road to go. Fusion is the for sure the best and most powerful option, and it's free for most people, unless you're a big business who's making major revenue. Then you're going to have to pay for it. But for hobbyists and for startups, Fusion, including the full CAM package, is free, and it's so incredibly powerful. Is ESTLCAM free? It is shareware, I believe, technically. So you can use the full software for free, but it will start bugging you with, hey, you know, please buy this software. Delays if you use it for an extended amount of time. I think after like 5 exports or so, and then with every added export on top of that, the delay gets longer. But you can totally use it for free. If you're okay with waiting on the software, you can 100% use it for free. I'm not sure if that's encouraged or intended, but you can do that. I did buy, I think, ESTLCAM 8 or so at some point. I think they're up to ESTLCAM 10, so they do have they do have new major versions up quite often, which are not included in the old license. So you will need to buy upgrade licenses fairly often. Which is probably something that Simplified 3D should have done. Just go like, okay, we have major new versions and those aren't included, and do that from the start. But yeah. Delay stops increasing at 30 seconds. Yes, that's a good point, Ryan. The ESTLCAM delay, yeah, it does stop at some point. 30 seconds is, you know, if you grab a coffee real quick, it's okay. But if you're actually using it for a project and you do just try out different exports, and I think the simulation also has a delay to it, then that does get annoying. Simplified 3D is still not dead. I think it's still working. Like, I opened it recently. It's not like they've shut down the activation servers and killed it for everyone yet. That is, oh, that still needs tightening. Good thing I checked. All right. Yes, thanks for pointing that out, David. I did notice that. All right. One thing I actually saw after I had edited the, or after I had uploaded the intro video to this live stream is I clapped so often in that video. Like I was just like, oh, let's build the MPCNC. I was just like, dude, stop it. You've clapped 10 times already. That's got to be enough for one simple video. All right, these bolts got snugged up and should not be touched again. Okay, I mean, I'll probably have to touch them somehow, but I'll not undo them again, right? Using the M8x40 bolts, nuts and bearings. Ryan, by the way, did you add all those screw dimensions like last night or something? Because I believe the last time I built these weren't there. But that's extremely helpful to have the metric dimensions there as well. Using the M8x40, where are those? M8x40, okay, right here. That's the M8x40, slightly longer than the M8x30. Nuts and bearings, assemble these into the end of the XY parts that only have one hole. Okay. They only have one hole. What? So, I guess 2 holes, 1 hole? There's another hole right there and one more too. So, I guess that. That looks like it. Yeah. That's it. That's the right side, because that's 1, 2, 3 with the 3 arms out down here. Okay, okay, that makes sense. SoundSync, yeah, for claps. I'm kind of glad that I'm kind of glad that I do have my workflow down for filming videos to not require any sound syncs anymore, because everything just gets recorded straight into camera with the Rode Link system. There's no external audio recorder. There's only a single file that I have to copy over to my computer. There's no syncing after that. It's just efficient. Like when making videos, I want the tech to be like the least visible thing, at least to me. Like I don't want to have to worry about the tech. It should just be, you know, set up, done, ready to go, which is why I love having presets on cameras that have like autofocus and white balance and exposure and all that. Just click, click, and it's done. Like you just put the camera down and there you go. So there's one. And now another one right there. So I will try to match the screw head direction there. So screw head on this side, but I don't think it actually matters there. It was too tight. It's still turning just fine. And I mean, the thing is, if you over tighten these screws, you're not going to block the bearing, because the bearing, there's nothing that's clamping the bearing. It's only clamping against the inner race of the bearing, and that, like, you can clamp pretty hard against that because that's steel. The plastic part is going to give before you smush the bearing, so it's fine. It's fine. I could actually use my socket wrench here, but let's just use the spanner because that's already out. It tightens the other bearings. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you are right. You are right. So let me check the manual real quick here again. These should be left extremely loose. Okay, thanks for pointing that out. But let's try these. I mean, okay, so there's 2 bearings on this side and just 3, already 3 on the other. Yeah, so this is too tight. Let's actually try how well this tightening goes, or how well it works, because I've seen it pointed out on the other parts as well. So this is, there's no way this is going through at this point. So let's see. So this is what I'd consider extremely loose at this point, and it goes through. Okay. But it already has, there goes foot. It already has like no backlash whatsoever. Oh, auto exposure. Okay, cranking it up. There's no backlash whatsoever, so I don't think there needs to be any tightening on top of this at all. There we go. All right, let's undo the other one as well. Video stutters sometimes. I'm hoping it's on your side, on the buffering side. If you're having buffer issues on your side, just skip back 5 seconds. You can also do 5 minutes, but skip back 5 seconds, and that's going to give your YouTube player a bit more room to buffer. It's going to have 5 extra seconds to buffer, because by default it's only doing 2 seconds, and that's not a lot. All right. Tension bolts A control slightly affect the squareness. Okay. This step uses the XYZ lock nut 5-inch, so the very long M8 bolts, 2 bearings, both gantry spaces, and the nut. Goes through the XYZ plate. Next is a spacer. Okay. There we go. There's my M8 by 130. I just need one of these. I bought 25. Well, so this goes through the XY part from which direction? I'm guessing like this. Like so. Okay, that's looking reasonably good. And then a spacer. I think that's this way. Yep, so there's some mounting points for the lead screw nut. Then I'll get to your questions in a second. I need to concentrate here so I don't misstack these. So that's on. Then we need one of the X, Y, Z pieces. And these have like this little marking on here. Hoping you can kind of see that that matches up with the profile, with this kind of kite profile on the spacer. So like this, and then there needs, I guess there needs to be a bearing in here. Why are you so tight? There we go. Yes, bearing. Video is still skipping frames. Well, I'd rather have it skipped. Honestly, I'd rather have it skip a few frames every now and then than have 25 seconds of delay. Because I gotta say, like having a low latency chat right here is just super nice. I think it's on my side on like, oh yeah, encoding overloaded. This is a 1070 Ti, by the way, and it can't real-time encode a 1080p 60 stream. There's something wrong with that. So align this one, then insert the next one, add it to the stack, and a second bearing. Wow, this is something. Okay, so this goes on. Oh yeah, and now we have that side that actually slides together like this. That's satisfying. And then that's actually going to have the lead screw go through it, I believe. So like this, then that goes on like this. Do you have a hammer? Oh, hold on. Bearing, we need a bearing. Slightly unscrewing that. I've gone through my first tray of bearings. Thankfully, there are 2 more waiting to be used. Yeah, I did try CPU encoding, but it's this is only a 5960X. It's only an old 8-core. So as soon as I get my Threadripper back in this machine, I might try that, but with this older CPU, it's just not super smooth. It's actually worse than with the GPU. And that's a bit of a problem. So what I'm seeing right now is that the screw heads are colliding with the bearings. So you can see that right there. That's just running into the bearing right there. There's no space there. It's just totally smushing up against it. That is quite tight. What happened to my Threadripper system? I tried to remove the water block off of my main workstation, and the thermal pads were holding on so well that it ripped one of the chokes off of the VRMs off of the mainboard. So I grabbed the mainboard out of this system and had to fix my workstation with it. Whew. Okay, what do I do with this? Cab heads need a little grind. I guess. So if that's the only, it looks like it's only about like a millimeter or so that I need to take off. And these screws are tight, so I think I can just grind it off. Yeah. Cab heads. Man, stuff like this needs to go in the specs. Like if there's a list of screws, and you have to use one type of screw, then that should be specified. Okay, let me just take note of which screws I need to grind down. So this one, and where's the other one? Yeah, this one. Okay, that's where the bearing would have been. All right, thankfully I do have a grinder. I will grinder this, use Phillips head screws instead. No, I refuse to use Phillips head. Just anything but that. Well, maybe flathead, but no, not doing Phillips head. I will take these to the grinder. I could grab the. Actually, I think that's more fun. I will grab the angle grinder real quick. Give me 1 minute. Dremel, yeah, sure. Dremel is kind of inappropriate for this. Let's try and clamp this down. Yeah, that's tight. Basically, please disable the 60. I'll try for next stream, but like if we can do 60, why not? Okay, there we go. And that's where we're grinding, so I guess we can zoom in. Maybe, yeah. Always wear hearing protection when working with these, because your hearing is not coming back ever. And also eye protection. I'm wearing glasses, which is fine. Headphone users, please take off your headphones. Just saying. This will be loud. I should have grabbed the grip on this, but here we go. Okay, that looks good. Will it melt or deform? Oh yeah, it will melt. That's interesting. Okay. It does actually melt. I guess I should have known that. I'm gonna let that cool off for a second, and I mean, it did get a, taken off quite nicely. But I guess I can rotate this with the nut in the back. I can still tighten this down. Okay. It will melt the plastic. Yeah, I saw it. So let's try and do it the other way with this one and unscrew it first. One example why PLA for parts that are in contact with heat isn't fantastic. Bearing is nice and loose now. And interestingly, I don't think we actually need the nut anymore, because that's all threaded now. This is not stainless. This is just regular galvanized screws. All right. Also, I can put a washer under this. Like, come on. Right, so that's still warm. Eye protection. I'm wearing glasses and I'm knowing where to grind to. So that's the first one. That is looking good. Come on, where's the... There's the flat. How do I hold this one down? Just like that somehow? Yeah. Zinc isn't great for the lungs? Ah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Zinc overheating. I mean, I'm not like burning the metal. Though, yes, wear breathing protection. Do as I say, not as I do, as always. It's probably gonna melt the clamp, isn't it? M8 by... I'm looking for 1 to 5 base. Tom, nimm doch bitte eine Schubscheibe und keine Trennscheibe. I mean, if you look at this, that is a, that's the proper kind of disc. All right. Let's do it like that. Headphone users, get ready. Oh, that's yours turning. Okay, not great, not great. You know what? I'll actually do this on the grinder next door because I can just grab a what are they called? Vice clamp. It's probably going to take a bit longer, but you're not going to be able to see that because there's no camera next door. It'll take me about 2 minutes. Be right back. All right, this is, what did I miss? This is ground down now, perfect. Actually, it looks a bit nicer than the one with the angle grinder, but just as hot. And, oh, we now have nice burn marks in this wood. That's nice. That's a memory that's gonna stay with the machine forever. For the melted part, which is where stuff like this comes in handy, there's the washer rack or the washer drawer. So we can take these fender washers and just put them underneath the part. That was this one, right? Fits right there. Am I muted? No. Don't drop it. Put a step in there like, what? Button head and regular hex bolts. Yeah, these small hex bolts probably work as well. Okay, so let me double check. So these go together like this. So that means that this screw right here, Yeah, it needs to be away from the flat, and the same on this side. Okay. Let's try and make that happen. Camera, why are you so bright? And do I have a knife here? I do not. Good enough. Nobody look at this. Hoping it's okay if this slightly extends past this top surface. It should be right. Camera, please focus on this. There we go. So now I can actually rotate it the way I want. Yeah. But it does need the bearing on it, obviously. Should become a comedian. Ha ha ha. Now the head will be too big again. What? So where's my spanner? There it is. So I can kind of rotate this into position. And then grab the nut and actually tighten it from the back so that the flat is in the correct orientation. Yep. You forgot. What did I forget? Did you forget why he grinded the screw head? No. It's right there. Isn't it? If we put these together, then yeah, that bearing right in there. Come on. Come on. Yeah, that bearing that goes in here now has clearance from, where is it? From that screw. That's the entire point. So that works. Next. So same here, same in that direction. No washers on that side. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll give it a go because that side does have the melted head on it. You guys all right? That may be an issue. I'll try. If I have to take that washer out, I can always do that in a second. Probably switch back to the regular height bit and not this monstrosity of an extension. Okay. It might be enough. Might be enough. Okay, let's try with a short screw first and see if that fits. There you go. So that goes on like, I put it on in the wrong way. That goes on like so, and we are, look at that, look how tight that is. But it looks like we're clear. Yeah, we are clear. Just barely, not by a lot, but just barely. This bearing spins. Okay. I guess that works. So let's jump back in here. Oh, there's still a. Okay, this is the cutoff disc. I was not using that, and I wouldn't be using that for grinding, like flats and stuff. Cool. So we are starting again with this guy. So this guy goes through here. Then we have the spacer. Spacer goes here. Then we have one of these. Goes on like so, this side. Then that side just snaps in. It's a very chunky snap. Then that side without the, yeah, that side goes on. Oh, I forgot the bearings again. God damn it. So many things that need assembly. Washers, spacers. Washers? What's washers? No washers. Put in these rolly washers. So there. Okay. If I sound like a confused old dude at some points during live streams, it's just because there's so much going on. Like there's chat, there's cameras I have to control. There is me actually trying to focus on building the things that I'm building. Showing you guys what's happening. With a long screw, this actually doesn't work. Okay. Damn it, all because of the wrong screws that I didn't know I couldn't use. So washer needs to come out. Washer goes bye-bye. You guys are not seeing what I'm seeing right now, which is great. I will be the last to suffer. That is great to hear. Come on. So this might press into the part slightly. But there you go. It's tight, good. Should hold up. Moving on. I think I did dry assemble these parts before I started building, and this was just one of those parts which was like, dude, massive. Just an absolute monstrosity of an assembly. Okay, that's in, that's on. The bearing spins, perfect. So spacer goes on, let me double check the instructions. Second bearing is added. Okay, second gantry spacer, have it. Second XYZ piece. Upside down as compared to the first, yes, because it snaps into the XY piece. Followed by the lock nut. Lock nut kept loose. Okay, this is tension bolt B. I'm so gonna lose track of what's tension bolt A, B, C, but I'm sure it's gonna come up in the instructions at some point again. So we have the first Z-axis roller, I guess, the black part. Then this one goes on like so. So we do have the spacer in here, the red and yellow part. That snaps in like this. Okay. And there's additional screw locations here that are going to connect everything up, and also additional bearings. And then on this end, we have the lock nut. There's nothing that keeps the screws from turning. What? Okay, let me switch this back because this is like this crazy. This is unusable. When you get it all together, put together, it's really heavy. I bet. I mean, it's quite something already. So I guess these spacers do need to kind of be in the right orientation. Oh, loose, right, loose. That's loose. Still kind of moves around. I mean, look at this. It's just a massive chonker, but we're not done yet. We're not done yet. There's still extra bearings to go into these parts. When you forgot the bearings again? Okay, let's double check. We do have all the bearings that we need to. So this is the long screw. Here's the nut. Here's the screw head on this side. So we have the first XY part. We have the space. We have the XYZ part. XY part. We have the bearing. We have the other one. We have the bearing. All is in here. Nice. Whew. Right, looks like brake calipers. Yeah, kind of. I like the style. I like the style that this thing has. It's like Lego Technic, which I did play with and did inspire me a lot. So this is a nice throwback. Add in the brass T8 nut and screw it down with one or more. With one. Is one screw actually going to be enough? These screws only prevent the nut from turning. Okay. Especially. Screw them in all the way and back off half a turn. Are there nuts? Are there nuts for the screw? So I'm guessing at this point this is symmetrical, but if I look at the images right here, this is the screw head, I believe. So it's that side that gets the nut. Not that it matters probably, but so screw head is on this side, and then the nut also goes in like so. There's the screw holes. And it does not appear to have any nuts in there. It's just screwed directly into the plastic. Nice. .2, 2.5. So I'm going to use 3 screws. What is that? That's the 3. I misplaced my... If anyone sees the 2.5mm bit, 3mm, 2.2, that's a 6. That's the 2.5. Okay, got it. Got it. There's so much stuff going on. So this goes in like so. Wow, the black prints are not making this camera happy. Oh, there. Yeah, thanks for that. Must be $500 on bearings alone. Here's the thing. Oh, it's actually 4. Nice. Here's the thing. Bearings are incredibly cheap now. You can actually buy all these bearings for, I think, like 10 or 15 bucks at most. So I think I bought like 100 or so, just because like, why not? You're always going to be using 608 bearings. And then back off half a turn. So half a turn. Yeah, bearings are actually one of the cheapest parts of this build. Filament costs more than that. Loose, yes, I did back off. This is loose. It does turn. It is free to rotate. It's kind of hard to see because it's so shiny, but you can hear it clacking around. This is very much loose. Cool. Lots of fidget spinners to print. Yeah, but the thing is, for fidget spinners, this type of sealed bearings, so these are the 608 2RS. Yeah, let's do that. 2RS bearings with the actual seals on the side. These turn a bit harder than what you'd want for a fidget spinner because they do have a relatively thick grease in them, and you can't easily wash out that grease like you do for fidget spinners. So not the type you want, actually. You want the either the ZZ or Z, whatever it's called. You want those with the metal caps on the sides, not this one, or just open ones, or ceramic. Whoa. Yeah. You guys probably know fidget spinners better than I do. Okay, so we have added the brass nut. I'm thinking if this would work with a Delrin nut as well, or with some of the IGUS parts. Use the M8x65 bolts. Those are back there. Okay, bearings and lock nut. Tension bolts C, and that's, where is that? What am I assembling? I guess this down here and up here. Yeah, because that does not have any, right here, there. So that's actually connecting this blue part to the black part. Why is this top camera so dark? This one's so bright. Yeah. But yeah, right there, you can see there's a bearing missing right there, and on the other side and on the bottom as well. So let's do that. Yes, 2 more bearings. That's what we're doing right now with the M8x65 screws. Then I guess the screw just pops through like that. And then in here we have the nut and of course 1 more bearing. 1 week to print all those parts. Well, it depends on like how fast you print. Like I could have easily done this in, I mean, I didn't exactly time how long it took me. I was just starting prints left and right and printing it as I went along. But you could probably do it a lot faster if you use something like a draft profile with like really thick layers. That does make a significant difference. And you can, of course, also go really overkill on the detail. These parts are rather chunky, so they don't need the highest detail. So it just really depends on what your look should be. But you can easily have a print time factor of like 3 between just going, you know, I'm just citing Prusa's like 0.15 millimeter detail setting versus the 0.3 millimeter draft. I'm thinking both are okay for the MPCNC build. This bearing is actually quite loose in here. Right, so nuts on all these. Printed all the parts in about 28 hours. Yeah, that's definitely 28 hours. Hold on. That a single printer? I mean, 28 hours is pretty crazy. These should be lifted extremely loose. Just double checking. So, I mean, these parts do, I mean, yeah, they're chunky, but they do require some strength, so use some extra perimeters and infill. If you're just using the default, like 15% infill and 2 shells, I think that may not quite be enough. You may not see an immediate difference. I mean, they're all gonna hold up, but the rigidity you get out of the machine will be kind of different. Oh, 5 Ultimakers and 4 Prusa as well. Okay, yeah, yeah. I was talking like sequential print time, not okay. I press start on 5 machines and 28 hours later. I get that. Bye, Barry. By the way, you can always watch the recordings of these live streams. That's something that's always coming up. Will I have the recordings online? Yes, I will, as with all live streams. This is in the playlist, and it will probably stay online forever. So extremely loose. I'm actually leaving. Oh yeah, look at that! Look at that zoom. Oh, I'm actually leaving. You can see that I'm leaving just a tiny gap underneath the nut head there. Wow, it's actually fun how much you can zoom into these scenes when you're cropping a 4K image to 1080p, because we're only streaming. Make them touch. Make the nozzles touch, or make the bolt heads touch. Just tight enough to engage the nylocks on the nuts. Just enough, and I think I did engage. Yeah, I definitely did engage the nylock on the nuts there. So you can see right there, that's engaged. These will get tightened at some point, right? Just a bit. Make him touch just a bit. Okay. Okay, I'll make him touch. I'll make these nuts touch just a bit. Okay, touching just a bit. Let's actually try with the rod. Let's push this rod in and see if these nuts touch enough. I'm not feeling any slack, and that did go in really easily, so I think that's good. Let's try the other side. Yeah, the other one also goes in quite easily. And these look like, yeah, this one's not quite touching. Cool. So the rod does slide in really easily into both options. Right. So that is the middle part done, I believe. Like butter. Yeah. All right. We need the square now, I guess. An inexpensive square works fine. So I believe this is the exact square that, or one of the squares that this house has been built with, which was 30 years ago. It's held up pretty well. So this is like a 1980s square. Rather large, rather good. Used it for a ton of stuff already. And I will be using it to square this machine too. Insert all 4 rails. So that actually goes through the center, not the z-axis rails. With all the tension bolts loose, the rails should actually be a snug fit. They are. Tension bolts C. Okay, what was tension bolt C? I guess the ones that tension that. Have it tightened up, equal light tension. Use a square if your X, Y, Z rails are perpendicular. You can tension bolts A and B to adjust the rail angle. God, I can't remember what A, B, and C is. Tension bolt B. Okay, that's the long one. And then A is, what's A? A is the ones on the bottom. Okay. So I'll be using A and B, so the short ones at the bottom and the long one to adjust that. And C, so I'm tightening C and then I'm adjusting with A and B. So I'm tightening the ones that I just put in. Right, so I'm tightening the, wow, this, okay. So I'm tightening, at least if I understood that correctly, I'm tightening these right there to make it, no, hold on, that doesn't tighten anything. So that these are tight enough, but then I use this long bolt and these to square everything up. Okay, whew. German dude lightly touches nuts and inserts rod. Yeah, just as per the instructions. Here it comes. A little pressure always helps with this. That's actually rather grindy sounding. Ryan's saying just see if it's squarish. And you can always come back later. So there is our middle piece. Ah! That's nice. Okay, so all I'm caring about right now, or all that I'm supposed to care about right now, is whether these are squares. So we switch to the top view. After you get them sitting on the rest of the machine, yeah, I guess that's when everything gets tightened up. Yeah, they feel like they're a bit too snug to insert, but the sliding action is quite good, and to my eye, this looks. I'm just looking at the gap between what I'm seeing. Yeah, this looks slightly off, so this one's tilted slightly towards this side, which means I need to. Okay, what do I tighten now? I need to tighten this screw back here. So I'm tightening this, which means it's going to push this side over, I guess. And I can't get to that, so I'm going to need some hex key. So I'm slightly tightening this. More. The Z has to be in. Okay, the Z also has to be in. So let's try this. Let's insert this double rod Z-axis. Am I inserting this from the right side? That doesn't matter. It's just about tensioning these. Oh, I guess I'll insert it from the other side. Ah! David, you can always jump back. This stream does have the YouTube DVR enabled, which means, look at this, let's go in. See, there's the hole that it's going to go in. Oh, why doesn't it go through? The space is all off. Oh, there we go. So Z-axis is in. Had it right the first time. I guess for permanent installation we can always come back to it. So this, okay, with the Z-axis in, it does appear to be as square as it's ever going to get. So maybe this one needs to go that way by maybe ½ a millimeter at this point. So I'm going to call that good enough, even though I do have the Z-axis in backwards. So I'm going to call that good enough. But the tubes are the same size, no matter which way it goes in. So, okay, lube the lead screw. Loop the lead screw. I'll lube that once it's all together and assembled because, yeah, I don't want to get grease all over me. So, right, if you are new to all this, don't worry about getting it perfect here. Yeah, I do want to get this relatively square because maybe I'm going to actually machine parts off of this. Use the blue square pictures. Cool. So we did do that. We did do the middle assembly as promised. How much assembly is the gantry? Can we assemble this? Yes. Let's assemble this today. And oh, I need to grab some extra motors actually. I'll do the motors tomorrow. But we can assemble this. So set the middle assembly on the roller. So I need to get my rollers back up here. By the way, I think I did miss some. Super chats, right? Robert, 5 Swiss francs. Thanks all for the knowledge. That was 3 minutes ago. Sorry about missing it. Thank you very much. Dröf Kalkon, 2 minutes ago, €2 through super chat. 4 rods at once. Yeah. I don't know if you're into that. That's okay. I don't judge. And Mick V, €2 with touch the nuts. I think I touched enough nuts today. So which way did this go? Was this? Oh god, I've already forgotten which way I had this. I think it was like that. Yeah. Maybe? Not good. Because I think I remember this part actually scratching my arm. So if you're worried about this thing being squared, this will get squared down in a later step. I marked it on the table. Yeah, I did mark it on the table, but I didn't mark it on this frame, on this tube frame. Come on. Oh, it's not. Look at the board. Yeah. But what's X and Y? I think this is the way that it... High side to the front? Yes. High side is at the front. thinking that's actually the way I had it. Right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Follow the blood stains. Water jet head. Oh yeah, that would be nice. Maybe some sort of laser, but then probably the wooden base is not such a good idea. Okay, that is correct. David's saying yes. So set the middle assembly on the rollers. Center the rails. Set the middle assembly on the rollers. So we now need our middle assembly. Does that have a front and back? So I'm guessing, oh no, it does need to be this way because this rod right here is a bit higher up. No, it does need to be this way. So 1, 2, 3, and the last one. So theoretically, this should all be at the correct height. Yeah, so you can see it's actually keeping square pretty well. Okay. Oh yeah, this does. Sounds like this bearing is making some noise right now. No, all good. That actually, this is one of those things that I could just do forever. Yeah, obviously, that's good. Okay, that and then the z-axis. So the z-axis, z-axis needs to go in like so. So we have the tool mount down here. We have the motor up here. This one just goes sliding in like that. Though now we have the nut at the bottom. I guess it should be at the top because if you're all the way down here, then this nut needs to be at the bottom. Okay, it needs to be at the top. So yeah, no nut up here. Yes, nut up here. So no, wait, no, it's this way. This stuff was a bit less symmetrical. Would be a bit easier and a bit clearer to build. So now we have the lead screw nut. Now this can go in. I need to rotate the assembly? Why? So, the bottom it's also in. This is actually surprisingly rigid for being all plastic parts, for being, well, pretty much all printed parts for structure. Like, it's pretty nice. So if I hold it like this, like, yeah, there's some give to it, but the good thing is because this tool head is already so low and this entire bracket extends pretty far down. I'm not sure how well you guys can see that, but like this is the frame is on the way. Let's do it over here. So that's where the end of the tool head mount is right now. This is where the bed is. So there's maybe a fist full of space between the end of the tool mount and the base. So there's not a lot of leverage once this entire z-axis gets extended and has to mill something. So there's not a whole lot of warp that I think is going to be happening. All right, so this z-axis lead screw is not lubed yet, but it's still going in pretty well. I mean, it's kind of waxy. I think that's just from the factory. And yeah, cool. Kilogram of plastic just in the upper gantry. Yeah, I think that there is still some tightening that can happen here, just to get this thing completely rigid and completely done. Because I mean, it's not going to be perfect. Like it's not going to be perfectly stiff, but yeah, that's good for now. And that's also going to be it for today. We did stream another 1.5 hours, which is perfect. We did assemble this big old chonker. yeah, can we see from this side? It is magnificent. So thank you everyone for joining in. Thanks everyone for being here in the low latency YouTube live stream. One last question from Druff Kalkoen. I'm doing dual end stops. I don't think I'm doing end stops at all. I'm not doing any end stops because I do need to manually home it before every print, before every mill job anyways. So yeah, a little shorter will benefit your metal use. Yes, so yeah, again, thanks everyone for being here. I will see you all again tomorrow, where we will be building, what are we gonna do? We're adding motors, I guess, and then final. So final, I think, is final squaring. Yes, that's what's gonna be happening tomorrow. And I think belts is also something that we can do. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Leave the video a like if you did. Join in on YouTube memberships or Patreon, or just get subscribed and like stuff. That also helps. So thanks everyone for being here, and I will see you all again tomorrow. Bye.